Hoxworth from FatNugs Magazine. It is so good to have you on MyFlora Fridays. We've been chatting with each other for a while now about various different things, and I am stoked to have you here.
Thank you for
So,
having me. I appreciate
yeah,
that. Thank you very much. And
yeah,
yeah, we've been talking about all kinds of shit over the past year or so at this point.
yep. Yeah, probably about a year now. I
Yeah.
think I contacted you after I was talking to Danette at the Rebecca Finn house, and she was saying, she got that spread in the destinations issue,
Yep.
which I can see right behind you.
Oh yeah, that is
Um,
back there.
and I was like, oh man, I'd love to be in Fat Nugs magazine. And she's like, well, you are, because I mentioned your name in the article as
Yep.
the educator of the house. And then I was like, she's like, just call Dustin. I was like, call him. I'll send him a message and see what he says. But you were really like, you answered me right away, and I was like, holy shit, this is cool.
I'm accessible. To be in media and not accessible is a really bad idea. And obviously there's some caveats to that, right? I'm not a big corporate media conglomerate. So being independent media, you need to be able to be accessible. So, and I live and am from this community. So
Hmm.
Dustin Hoxworth, founder of FatNugs Magazine, also the editor at large. A lot of people don't know what an editor at large is, but basically, my real job is to spread the word of Fat Nugs, who we are, what we do, why we do what we do, who we do it with and for, and then interview people and write about things that I really want to write about. That's what an editor at large is really supposed to do. Obviously, panels and all of that kind of stuff. So that is my true job. How I got here to be the founder of Fat Nugs was sort of a cross between an accident and understanding that there was a big gaping hole in the industry for a publication that focused on small mom and pop equity, legacy, veteran, women-owned cannabis businesses and voices, and did it from a place of journalistic integrity, no pay to play stuff, so to speak. And that's, kind of the combination of that accident and then the realization of that gap that existed is really kind of how I got here with Fat Nugs. Built it on LinkedIn from day one. There are a couple of different reasons for that. I mean, obviously, it's our safe space when it comes to cannabis. We get to talk about cannabis and we really don't have to worry about being kicked off the platform. If you try to do something like this, and what I mean by this is build an entire brand from scratch from day one on a place like Meta, especially when it comes to cannabis or plant medicine, psychedelics, that kind of stuff, you are not going to be able to do that very successfully. Eventually, they will kick you off at some point. I know what that's like firsthand as well because we were kicked off of Instagram for over 6 months and we got our profile back. So, anyway, it's LinkedIn was where I built this thing first because it's our safe space. And then the second reason is that that's where people like you are, our entrepreneurs, our science focused folks, business folks, our CEOs, vice presidents, directors, the people that hold the purse strings in the industry. I knew that's where their eyeballs were when it comes to cannabis as well and cannabis business. Being able to sort of shove fat nugs down everyone's throats every single day in this industry and was the approach. And that
Yeah.
really is how I kind of got going with this. So yeah, that's I guess who I am and what I'm doing in the industry.
Awesome. And I'm a big fan of Fat Nugs magazine
Thank you.
since day one, because I think
Thank you.
what you've been doing is innovative and incredibly helpful, useful, classy. It used to be High Times magazine was like the thing, and I don't know what happened to them, and I don't care. But Fat Nugs came along, and it was like, what was your first issue? I remember Kristen Yoder being on featured
Um,
one of the early ones.
so our digital editions that we do, I guess I should make the distinction. We have both print and digital, and they are different. We do 5 print editions a year. Those are all themed. We like to weave cannabis through our daily lives when it comes to our print editions. That's why they are themed. We've done a music edition, a tech edition, a pet and animal edition. There's all kinds of things that you can talk about when it comes to cannabis. And I think when we theme our editions, it gives us a chance to dive deeper into an issue around cannabis or a subject matter within cannabis. And I think that's a pretty important distinction as to what we do versus a lot of other publications, period. We pick something and we dive deep into it from a medical aspect, from a cultural and community aspect, from a personal aspect. So that's what we do on the print side. Now, what you just talked about with Kristen, she was the very first person I ever had on a cover of one of our digital magazines. We
Okay.
do out of 52 weeks a year, we do 40 to 45 weeks where we publish a digital magazine every Friday. We call it FatNugs Friday. Push that out via our socials. That goes out to around 70,000 eyeballs or so. And then those weekly digital magazines give us a chance to really include the community in a deeper way. And having someone like Kristen on the cover of that one, I guess 3, 4 years ago at this point, was sort of the start of that. So being able to showcase people from our community, I think, is an important thing to do. And that's something we get to do on a regular basis here, weekly basis, actually, and then push that out to our community, the industry, and all of our readers, where we're able to do some really cool stuff in that digital magazine that we produce. And it's probably the most popular thing that we do here because it's consistent and we're always pushing it out and people are always involved in it. We always have 3 or 4 different writers in there. It's 45 to 65 pages and it's all our own real, no AI bullshit articles. It's very hard to, if you think about this, a 45 to 60 page magazine every single Friday is next to an impossible task to do. But we have it down here. I think it was extremely important to do it this way because a lot of people send out newsletters, right? Everybody's got a newsletter. And I was like, yeah, this is not good enough. I ended up pouring in a lot of resources to turn a simple newsletter into a full-blown magazine every week because our industry deserves it and because the community needs a voice that is consistent, consistently there, consistently pushing. And that's what we get to do with our digital magazine. Kristen being a part of a very early edition for us was a part of making that a bigger deal.
Kristen's awesome. She's kind of backed out of the industry for various reasons, which is unfortunate because
Yeah.
she is also known as the cynical stoner.
Yep.
Uh, Indica sativa is lazy marketing was one of her,
Yep.
God,
Oh, support your local weed growers. I have 2 of those shirts, another one of those hoodies. I love the way that she's always approached the industry, no holding back.
no sugarcoating anything. And if she sees shenanigans, she's gonna say something.
The first
She
time
just
I got to actually see her in person was this past December in Vegas. That was the first time I've actually got to give her a hug and be with her in person at the Light Up Las Vegas event we put on during MJ Biz Week. So that was a really cool thing. So I've had many calls and we've texted back and forth and called each other, and that's normal. But actually being able to spend a few minutes with her in person was cool.
I met her in person. Actually, it was the day that Kobe Bryant died. She was
Uh,
giving a presentation at a conference in Denver, and I went specifically to see Kristen talk because I knew about her and I knew like kind of her story and I wanted to, check it out. And she was a lot taller than I expected,
She's
honestly.
like 5'7", 5'8".
Well, I'm 5'2", so like everybody's tall to me, but I really expected her to be like a much I don't want to say smaller because she's a huge like presence, but I wasn't expecting her to be as
In
tall as she
stature.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
smaller in stature. I got you.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever thought about it, to be honest with you.
I don't know. But no, I love Kristen and we've had conversations on the phone and I followed her on social media for a long time. I really like Kristen a lot. But
Yep.
the industry was really tough on her.
The industry overall is one of the hardest places I've ever operated anything. It's completely unforgiving,
It's brutal.
and cash strapped. It's extremely difficult to operate in this space while you have a portion of the industry driving things from a legality or a government influence and lobbying effort that is going against the smaller players in the industry that make up the majority of the industry
Mhm.
itself. And they also sucked all the air out of the bag, so to speak, when it came to investors. So all of that is gone. So it's an industry that's unforgiving and it drives out a lot of the best people.
It does.
unfortunately. And that's from retail all the way up to your founders. It's a difficult place to be. I mean, even some of the greatest brands that we have that are operating right now, say like Wild. I just did a hot box interview with Aaron Morris, the founder of Wild. And he was at a point where he had $1,000 in the bank to run an entire brand and to build from scratch, right? And it's just that's not something that you run into very often outside of this industry. Like you don't hear those types of conversations very often, right?
Hmm.
Sure, Microsoft and Apple or whatever started in a garage, but the things that the operators and the founders go through in this space to make sure that even the most foundational things about their business are solid, it's absolutely insane to think about. It really is.
And there's no safety net, right? You dive into this industry with maybe you have your own money, maybe you have an investor.
I started this with zero money. So I come from a very, very poor military family. I've always been dirt poor, and I'm not bullshitting when it comes to that. I lived in the middle of the city of St. Louis when I grew up for the first 10 years of my life. We had zero money, zero. My mom was on food stamps. My entire family, 22 plus family members, are either active or former military. So very large military family, very, very poor. When I came into this industry 5 years ago or so, I just wanted to be a part of something and help. And I did that with some companies. Nobody paid me a single dime, nothing. I sat here and did other things that I needed to do to pay my bills. Let's just say that. When as I was doing that work for other people, that's when the whole Fat Nugs kind of came up. And I saw that opportunity to kind of do my own thing. But again, with zero backing, zero investors, no knowledge of what the hell I was doing around publishing. I'm not a publisher. I've written a couple of pieces in my life, but that doesn't qualify me to do anything else.
Yeah.
So building this sort of butt naked in front of the entire industry from day one with zero money, very much community help, right, was kind of how it worked. A lot of the days, most of the time, even today, I'm still volunteering 99% of my time. Most of the first, I would say, year and a half to 2 years almost, we're all almost strictly volunteer.
Hmm.
So that's why the magazine is what it is. That's why we're able to talk about the things the way that we do. That's why we focus on the things that we do. It's a big differentiator in the way that it is run, the things that it focuses on, the people that it works with, the brands that it supports, all of that kind of stuff. So when you say there are no investors and there's no safety net, so to speak, for founders, I know that firsthand. I mean, I've almost lost this thing. I've almost just walked away from it because it kicks my ass and I don't get paid to do this, right? I've almost walked away from it countless times. But it's the community that keeps me here. They're like, nope, you're not fucking going anywhere. We're not letting you go anywhere. So that our safety net is our community. That's what we have here at Fat Nugs. That's been my safety net, so to speak. But yeah, this industry is completely unforgiving. You have to be willing to throw your entire self at your brand and business and be willing to get your ass handed to you for years until hopefully, maybe you have a slight chance of actually earning something from the work that you do.
Hmm.
This industry is fucking brutal.
I think that I've actually been pretty blessed that I haven't lost my ass. I have not ever wanted to start a company, not in the cannabis industry. People tell me all the time, you should start a seed company, you should build a brand. I'm like, fuck no, God, no. Like, that's the worst idea ever. I am willing to help, and I do give a lot of help to a lot of people, whether that be accurate information or whatever people need.
Giving what you can, when you
Giving,
can, how you
yeah,
can. It's
yep.
important to do that. That's what our community, that's what this industry is built on, right? It's helping others get to their place. And hopefully they drag us with them every once in a while, right? Being
Yes.
able to step in and help is massive in this industry. It really is.
And giving other people a leg up when you can instead of trying to, well, I don't know. There's like multiple facets to this industry, but I'm of the opinion like collaboration, like helping people, they'll help you, like,
You know,
in my
here's a perfect example of that, not to cut you off. So
okay.
Collaborating in this industry is again how the industry has been built. A perfect example of that, I mentioned when I first got into the industry 5+ years ago, the way that I got in was just offering help. I did a full go-to market strategy for someone. They didn't ask me. I loved the dude. I still do. Loved what he was doing. Still do. He is a
Mhm.
friend of mine still to this day. He was one of the first people I ever spoke to in this industry who took the time to give me his time. And I was like, super fucking cool of you to take time to welcome me into the industry. And so I pulled together a go-to market for him and presented it to him. And he was like, holy shit, dude. This is huge. Didn't ask anything for it. I was just wanting to help. So when you say collaboration and you wanting to offer services, and that's how you get into this space. When people ask me, how do you get into the industry? Be willing to
Mhm.
give, don't expect anything back, be accessible, be helpful. That's very easy, basic things to do.
And offer your help. Like it's really difficult to ask people for stuff, for help. Can you do this for me? It's much easier to say, "Hey, you seem to be struggling or you don't know where to, like I have that access to that information, or I can send you this paper, or I've got a digital copy of that book I'll share with you,
Yep.
or I teach classes. Let me sign you up for free because I know you don't have any money, but you need this information." So, and
If you
those are
can
things,
do things like that's huge.
and kindness is free. So
I agree.
that's what you do. And
You know, that kindness part is huge in this space. I don't mess with anyone or do business with anyone that's an asshole. And I've gotten to the point now, I'm 50 years old. I don't have time for people's bullshit, not even on social media in this space anymore. Like, I just get to blocking people and stuff. It's
hmm
bring your positive, supportive, helpful energy or don't be around.
I wish I was that brave, but you've seen me battle with these bro chads on social media before that just think they know everything, and I'm always courteous and respectful. I don't get the same treatment in return often. You know, p- Dudes can be total dicks, and I don't just block them. Maybe I feel like I can change their mind. I can teach them something. I can, make
Not
them
your
see the
job.
light.
No one
Maybe,
pays you for that.
well, I don't know. I'm an educator.
You have to remember there's a heart involved in that. And for you to change a mind and a heart, which is how you truly change people, you have to be able to connect with those types of people on a very personal level. And a lot of those folks who are just assholes or they know it all or they're aggressive for no reason, they're not going to be willing to soak up your positive, helpful, supportive energy the way that you are willing to offer it most of the time. In this industry, that's what I've found. It's easier for, and especially better for my health and my wellness and my overall well-being to get rid of anyone that I just do not give a fuck about. If you're chirping off at the mouth about anything, I don't care what it is. It might be my hair is stupid in a fucking photo. Say something stupid to me, you're gone. I just don't care. Like, I have enough things to worry about in my life other than opening up an app for a social moment and seeing negative bullshit. That's just not how this world should work. Not in my life. I went through enough bullshit as a kid. I'm not going to go through stupid stuff when I'm 50 years old. So people get the axe around here real fucking quick.
I think maybe having this podcast, I'm going to have to grow some cojones because
You
I
know, it,
know it's going up on YouTube, and I know that there's going to be dicks that are just like, oh, I don't like her voice. I don't like her laugh. Oh my
oh
God,
yeah.
she says so like so often. And okay, I know all of those things. Like I
Yeah.
already know my laugh is obnoxious. I know my voice is
There's
annoying.
There's nothing worse than someone behind a screen judging you. I mean, it's just so stupid, dude. There's just no reason for it.
I don't have PhDs in cannabis. Well, everything that I've done and everything that I have, my dissertation, my defense of my thesis are all out there on my website. People can read it, they can look at it, they can watch it, but no, we're
Here's
doing
the proper response to that bullshit question because they don't really give a fuck. And sure, the middle finger works, but it's a Cracker Jack box, motherfucker. That's where I got my information from. It's that simple. Like, you don't it's not your job and it's not my job to fix anyone else's opinion. Those opinions are based on themselves. When anyone is being an asshole, it's because they hate themselves in that way. It's a projection. Those types of things are projections.
Hmm.
Because out in the world, when you're walking around in society and you see someone, you may not like what they do, what they smell like, what they look like, what they're eating, how they sound, but you're not going to walk up to that person and go, I fucking hate this about you. No one does
No.
that. You know what I mean? Everybody's a fucking keyboard warrior. So you don't worry about those people. They're not a part of your life. They're not helping you in any way. Those things are only meant to drag you down. Cut them out of your fucking life, out of your daily life. It makes things a lot better and a lot easier. I promise you that.
Yeah, I do have a few people that are permanently blocked from all of my social media. And I know that they have people that are reporting back to them and saying things and whatever, but
Cool.
they're not welcome on my page. They're not welcome in my world.
Living rent free in people's minds is a part of life.
It's a pretty recent thing that I got my blood pressure under control, and I can tell you that there are a couple of people that as soon as I start reading their message or as soon as I start typing a response, I can feel my blood pressure going up. Like I'm just like, this is not good for me.
Yeah, those are the people that you need to cut out from your existence. There's just no reason for that kind of stuff. When you open up a social media app, the first thing that should pop in your mind is I'm going to enjoy this, not oh fuck. That's just not
Mhm.
how the world should work. And if it is how your world works, fix that shit because no one's paying you to be that person. You don't have to be the fucking hero in everyone's goddamn story. Be the hero in yours. Make your life a lot simpler, a lot more calm and peaceful, and chop motherfuckers out of it. Yeah, there's plenty of people don't deserve your time or energy,
But
and
you know
and
what?
as
There's a hell of a lot of awesome people in this space too.
obviously the majority of us are good people. That's what cannabis, obviously, it also attracts some very nefarious fuckers. But for the most part, our community is filled with some of the greatest people that you will ever get a chance to meet in your life. If that wasn't the case, I wouldn't fucking be here.
Fat Nugs has some really unique features in the way that it's structured and in the way that it functions and in the content that you put in it. It's very selective. Like you can't just write an article and send it in and you'll print it. Like
Fuck no.
you I cannot pay you to put a MyFlora ad in Fat Nugs magazine.
An
Well,
ad, advertisement, yes. A written piece, editorial, fuck no.
so can you talk about like how Fat Nugs is it really is a different periodical, I guess,
Yeah,
if we're going to be old timey,
yeah,
periodical,
that's a
online
good way to
and
put it.
print. And even your print editions, if you've ever been into like a supermarket and looked at the magazine section or you know, a B. Dalton Books, or does that even exist anymore? At the pages, right? The stuff that is printed on the glossy pages, they're flimsy. You get that page wet and it's, you know, wrinkly and stuff. Fat Nugs is like the highest quality, amazing freaking, I mean, it's almost like a book, you know, like a good quality children's books with glossy pages. Anyway, I want you to talk about the structure function of Fat Nugs.
Yeah, so there's a reason that the magazine itself, the print magazine itself, is as high quality as it is. Everything around cannabis should be elevated. We should be making sure that we are consuming craft cannabis, right? We are growing the highest quality cannabis we can. The conversations around cannabis should be elevated. Yes, we are stoners, and I fucking love that word, but that doesn't mean that we're stupid. Doesn't mean that we can't do things that we're not accomplished. So there's a reason that the magazine itself reflects that thought process. When you get this in your hands, I want you to go, holy shit, cannabis and quality. That's the first thing. It's shiny, it's pretty, it's thick. The
Mhm.
paper inside, not just the cover, but the paper inside is thick. It's expensive to do, but it's worth it. These
Mhm.
magazines are meant to last, sitting on your table for you to share them with your world, with the people that are closest to you, your friends and your family. They should be able to be collected. I
Mhm.
have them in frames above me. They're pieces of art. I consider myself an artist and more of a musician, but I've written and released 3 albums on my own. I've been in multiple bands throughout my life. I do some painting. Art is an important thing to me. It always has been. Making sure that the quality of our art is as best as humanly possible, that's one of the things that we focus on here. We don't get it right all the time. We're not perfect by any means. We've had plenty of things that didn't come out exactly as I intended, but the focus on that quality is extremely important. And it's one of the things that really separates us or differentiates us in this space. The way that people get into or be considered, or I guess the structure or process around getting into the actual print itself is kind of a tiered or layered approach. One, we want you to be involved here. We want you to know who the fuck we are. We want you to be a good person. We want to know who you are. We want to know that you are writing about things that you love and you are passionate about. You're not here just spouting off nonsense. So there's a few different ways that we make sure that not only the quality is super high for the writing, but that it's coming from the right people, especially for that each edition. Now, again, we're not perfect. We don't always get that right, but we do our best. So what we've built is the platform itself, FatNugs, is a community platform. We allow people to come here and write about the things that they want to write about that interest you, that get your blood going, right? That get you happy and excited and the things that you truly love again and you're passionate about, especially on the digital side. When you come here and you are published twice on the digital side, then you qualify to actually pitch us for print. Now, there's caveats to that as well. You also have to realize that since everything is themed when it comes to print, your pitch has to match a specific theme. And that may not be very easy for a lot of people to do. So that's another reason the selection process is relatively difficult. We don't do any pay to play stuff on editorial for our print because you can find that all over the place anytime
Mhm.
that you want in any industry publication or any publication and magazine that you want anywhere. Again, to separate the word differentiate us from everything else was to make sure that every piece that is written is because, again, that writer fits. It's a great match. They know what they're talking about. They're bringing their expertise to the conversation. Compelling, it's emotional, it's connective. So there are multiple layers to be able to write in the actual print. Plus, there's only 80 pages in the magazine at this point. We're up to 80 pages. So that's going to limit us as well. It's not easy to get into the print, but once you do, you can actually hold your place there if you really want to, if you know that you can write about specific themes over and over again. And then also, you might have a chance, depending on how good you are and how much you want to be involved, someone like Jim Barry. He is our homegrown series guy. He's in every single one of our editions, except for the Kids in Cannabis edition that we just pushed out in December. Columnists, I guess you could say, are in every single one of our editions. So we do something called the Bud Backstories. And to be the columnist for that, we went through sort of a selection process with multiple writers. And the person who actually came up with the idea, she was just absolutely phenomenal at writing those. And she's no longer here. Now we've transitioned to a new person in the Bud backstories because he has written for us many, many times. He does those types of, I guess, there's sort of a mix between a personal piece and knowledge mixed with industry knowledge, mixed with hunting down as much knowledge as you can. And this person is really good at doing that and putting it in a really interesting way and telling stories around that. So, as long as I guess to wrap this up into a nice tight bow, be a good person doing good things first and foremost. Come and get published twice on the digital side. After that, you can pitch us anytime you want for any of our print editions. Realize that they are themed, obviously. And then from there, it's just how good you can write. So that's kind of the selection process.
That's really, really cool. And I do know some people who've written pieces for Fat Nugs, and they're always interesting. I've had to read a lot of shit that I didn't really want to read. So I don't really find reading something that I want to do very often. But I have read a lot of articles in Fat Nugs because they're interesting and they're engaging and they're on topics that interest me, you
Yeah.
know?
And look, I think, the focus of us making sure that we're running cannabis, weaving cannabis throughout our daily lives in some way, each one of our additions is going to touch someone in a very personal way, in a very professional way. So the mix is there, the right mix, the type of editorial is there to be able to draw in people that are so deep into cannabis that they know more than most others in the world. Someone who is very, very far removed from the cannabis bubble that I like to call, that we all operate in. When you pick this up, no matter where you fall on that spectrum, this publication will speak to you and it will teach you something. And not only will it teach you something, but it will ingrain it in you because it's going to make you think about your own life and touch you in a very personal way. I've been building this thing for 4 years. There are still articles that I read that make me cry. That's what we're trying to do here. When you make a personal connection with someone with a topic related or exactly in cannabis or has cannabis in it, that is what we are really trying to do here because that's how we change hearts and minds.
Do you ever get somebody who is just really relentless in trying to get into Fat Nugs magazine, but they just write trash? Or is it
Um,
limited to the people that come to you seem to
no,
be of a relatively high caliber?
yeah, I think people are relatively nervous to probably be trashy, like suck to send something in because Jessica will throw that right back in their face very quickly, which I love. We don't really get that, to be honest with you. We get more people that want to do something with us that are assholes, like people that are just jerks. And I just don't accept that. So my pushback is we can have a conversation before I even read this piece. And if they want to have a conversation with me, then we can move forward with that. But at this point, most of those people that I consider who have wanted to do something with us or wanted me to publish a piece of theirs, the only reason I haven't done so is because they're fucking dicks.
That's fair.
I don't care how smart you are. I don't care where the fuck you come from, how much money you have, who you're connected to, what you're writing about, your expert level. If you are a fucking asshole, you will never be here. I just don't care. Anybody you see bitching online about me and not working with them, you know the reason now.
Yeah. Well, I haven't actually ever seen anybody bitching about you, but maybe I already have those people blocked. Who knows?
You never know. There are
You never know.
everybody's got haters, dude. I've got haters, I'm sure.
Oh, I know I do. So the Bud backstory, is that okay? So I have questions. Is it
Yep.
obviously you're talking about buds? Is it about strains? Is it about the lore behind some of the strains that people just can't stop talking about, like skunk number one, for example, Chem Dog, Blue Dream,
Yep.
Northern Lights, blah blah blah.
Great questions. The answer to every single one of those is yes. If you go in and read our Bud backstories in all of our print editions, you'll see that it touches on lineage, it'll touch on cultural community access to it. It will talk about the smoke itself or whatever the product is, so to speak.
Mhm.
It's the Bud backstories is to give you not a super duper deep dive into genetics, right? But it's
Mhm.
supposed to give you an overview of where it came from, what it is, who it came from, maybe the effects, if the writers had a chance to actually try it, that kind of stuff. And then,
Yeah.
of course, everything we do here is always based on a very visual aspect of cannabis as well. So keep that in mind. So the Bud backstories, the way that we determine what we're going to write about specifically for that Bud backstories is one, the theme of the edition.
Hmm.
If we can find something that matches, we do our best to be able to do that. And then another consideration is do we have access to it, both to consume and to take photos of? So that's another selection process, I guess, when it comes to Bud backstories. But overall, once we determine those things, it's about telling the story of that particular variety, that cultivar, that strain. It's to touch on as much of it as we can, but not necessarily go into genetics.
Well, it's hard with a lot of these things. We talk about record keeping because of prohibition. Lots of breeders didn't keep a lot of records because that's a
Yeah.
paper trail to illegal activities.
Sure.
And so a lot of like my first experience with cannabis lore is the story of ChemDog. And I didn't know anything about it when I was going around and collecting samples. There was ChemDog D, Chem 91, just plain ChemDog with a W. There was ChemDog 4, ChemDog with a DOG. And I didn't know, because I was a noob, that I thought maybe they were like local variants or crosses or wasn't sure what was going on. So anything that had ChemDog in the name, I bought it.
Now, did you realize that even the names were, sometimes they can be just completely made up at that
Well, so
point?
that was the start of my PhD is I was going around to places to purchase all the blue dreams I could find, all the
Yeah.
sour diesels I could find, all the Durban poisons I could find from different dispensaries, different states, because people were telling me, and lots of people were reporting that when I go to this dispensary and I get blue dream, and I go to this dispensary and I
It's
get blue dream,
different.
they're not the same. And I was like,
Yeah.
with my population genetics background, that's a really easy question to answer, right?
Sure.
Are they genetically the same? Because they should be, or at least very similar. There was interesting results, right? So I had, I think, 8 or 9 blue dreams. Only one of them was genetically different. All the rest of them were really, really similar. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Come to find out, blue dream was, I don't know, clone only strain. So that makes sense that you would see a very clear, consistent genetic pattern
Sure.
throughout the blue dreams. And clearly there was a genetic imposter, either mislabeled, relabeled, whatever the case may be,
They're
right?
lying. Let's just call it what it is.
Well,
Fuck.
I mean, there's no checks, there's no registration, there's no
Yeah.
validation methods in cannabis.
Lie came from somewhere down the line, right?
Yeah, but somebody got mixed up. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lie. It could have just been stoners being stoners, right?
True.
It
Give you
could be
that.
so I've actually seen that firsthand where I've been given 3 clones of 2 strains and they mixed up one of them. And it was through genetic analysis. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
like you labeled
Yeah.
this as banana cushion, this is grease ball, and it's the other way around. But that was my whole that was the very start of my PhD was I wanted to see like strain names reliable or are people, actually getting different products than what they think they're getting.
Yeah.
And so as I said, I was going around and ChemDog was on the shelf, but not the same ChemDog at all the dispensaries, all these different variations. So I did the genetic analysis on it and all things considered, they were pretty genetically similar. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Like they weren't exactly the same, but they were pretty genetically similar with variation that you would expect to see in like seed siblings. And
Okay.
so I was doing my due diligence and looking up the history behind these strains. Like, I had a Island Sweet Skink, which was mislabeled and it matched the other Island Sweet Skunk. So I was like, okay, so somebody had really bad handwriting or something.
Yeah,
But that's a perfect example of how things get mislabeled or misnamed.
for sure.
And so I was looking up ChemDog and I found The Legend of ChemDog. And I think it was written by Danny Danko, but don't quote me on that. Dog, the person, and if I want to get him on the show so I can get this straight from the horse's mouth. ChemDog, the person, bought a pound of weed or something from 2 dudes that he met at a Grateful Dead show, I think. In that pound, there were 13 seeds, right?
Heard this story.
Right. The first year he grew 4 seeds. Four was the only one that made it through. Or maybe it was 1 and 4. One got renamed Chem 91 because that was the year that it was grown. The next round he grew 4 seeds, A, B, C, and D. D was the only one that made it through. The other ones were either male or he didn't like them. And so I had Chem D, I had Chem Dog 4, I had Chem 91, I had just plain Chem Dog. And when I learned how these various Chem Dog strains came about, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, that's pretty impressive to see the kind of genetic signal you would expect to see from seed siblings because that's what they
Yeah.
are,
Yeah,
right?
relatively stable stuff.
And so, and to make it through and me to be able to get what I think were really the Chem Dog, variants in my study was pretty cool. And then the new one that I'm seeing that everyone's talking about right now, and it's not new, it's an old strain. It's everyone's talking about skunk number one. Where did the skunk go? Where did skunk number one go? And they're looking for the skunk smell. And I'm like, yeah, but that's came from David Watson Skunk Man Sam or Sam the Skunk Man. I don't know. But he bred out the skunk smell because he didn't like it. And so it's skunk number one isn't meant to be skunky, even though that's the name. And so now I've got this pet project that I'm doing with this genetics company that I'm building. And Kevin Jodry, bless his heart,
Hmm.
these are all various skunk number ones that I'm going to test because I
Very
want to
cool.
know, like, what is skunk number one? And we would assume that, and it's an assumption, we would assume that the genotype that's most often seen is the original skunk number one. That's not necessarily true, but that's what we would assume. So, yeah, I'm on the hunt for skunk number one right now.
Thinking about that and just, I can't remember the last time I smelled something skunky. I get fruity, candy, garlic. I don't even think I can remember the last time I got cheesy stuff. I gas. There's definitely some things that have been missing in my life over the past few years when it comes to aromas and cannabis.
Well, and I think it comes from selecting for high THC. We're selecting for a single trait. And right now, well, it's yield. The growers, they want big yields and they want high THC. And when you select for those things, other things go by the wayside.
The home growers that will keep it alive.
Home growers and some of the legacy folks that are still doing what they've always done.
Yep.
But Kerry Bennett, he doesn't grow for yields. He doesn't grow for
Dude,
THC. He grows for quality. And he knows that just big yields don't equal big money. People will pay for quality and he knows it. And he doesn't give a
limit.
shit what anybody says.
Oh, I know. I've
And
tried Carrie's. I've had several of Carrie's strains that he grows. I've actually reviewed one or two of them as well. I love the way that Carrie operates, what he stands for. He gives a shit, which is really
mhm.
cool. It's nice to see that. And, I think most growers tend to give a shit, but there are levels to this as well. And Carrie definitely takes the time and does things, I think, the right way. There is no real right way, but I think when I think about high quality cannabis, it's care in every step of, when Kerry has talked to me, you can tell that every step that he takes, it's because he actually gives a shit about what's going to come out.
Yep.
What you put in is what comes out, and he cares, which is really cool. So, yeah, with you on Kerry.
And
Hometown,
he's
hometown cultivation, shout out, by the way.
hometown. Yeah, and he doesn't care what anybody says. When I was talking to him, I was on a panel with him discussing like the consumers don't know what they don't know. They only have access to the things that are on the shelf, right, at their local
Yeah.
dispensary. They don't even know about half of the chemo diversity that's out there for cannabis because they just haven't been exposed to it because the dispensaries are
They don't carry
dictating.
it.
They're
Yep.
dictate, yep. And so much of this community that's like, I can't find anything but stupid cake and candy. Like,
Yeah.
give me something else.
Yep. I agree. It would be nice if the owners of the places that consumers actually like the end product, right? Where they go get the actual end product. We want those people to actually give a shit about cannabis, like on a much deeper level than just, making it about a transaction. Yes, the transactions are important, guys, but it would be cool if people actually cared. You walk into a dispensary and things are laid out, I guess, what do they call that? Anyway, you see things on the shelves and it's like, there's your cheese, there's your gas, there's your skunk, there's your candy. You know what I mean? I think that would be really cool to see, but
Like,
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
like flavor categories. Yeah, because right now it's all about THC. Platinum
Yeah.
strains, top shelf is all the highest THC, and we all know that the high THC is shit. Does not dictate experience or how high you're going to get at all.
If
It's
I
just
want super duper high THC, I'm gonna go concentrates. I'm gonna
right.
go with, some live rosin, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah, yeah. If
go
you
ahead.
want high THC, you're not in the flower market. You're in a different category, right?
Yeah.
And but because consumers have with most products have learned that higher price equals higher quality. And that's not always true, and it's especially not true in cannabis.
Well,
But
especially if you're conflating quality with THC percentage, that's never gonna fucking be the case.
right.
So,
So
yeah.
that I think that number should go away. I mean, I think it should be reported, but I don't think it should be front and center. And I don't think that price, but I can't change the market. The consumer is going to be the market changer, right? They're going to start demanding different things. The other thing,
Anyone who's charging based on THC percentage is a fucking idiot.
thank you for
Sorry,
saying
sorry,
that.
y'all. Sorry, the industry.
Don't be
Sorry.
sorry. No, that's perfect. Thank you for saying that. And then the other thing that I can't stand is terpene profiles. They put the most abundant three terpenes on a package, and that's supposed to give the consumer any kind of information. Dude, there's only like six terpenes that are in abundance in cannabis, and you put them in different combinations, but that doesn't even translate to the smell of the cannabis or the flavor of the cannabis. Those are other compounds. And so if you actually had people categorizing them based on flavor and aroma that they are sensing rather than here's the top three terpenes, so it must be lemony. We know that limonene does not equal the lemon or citrus flavor. We know that from
Yeah,
research now. The aroma, the what organoleptic qualities, and then categorize it like you said. Here's the garlic, here's the cheese, here's the skunk, here's the
yeah,
gas, here's the tropical fruits, here's the cake, here's the candy. And then people
yeah.
can go, I love candy. I want to have and then I'm looking for skunk.
I want to open up a jar and the dude across the room goes, "Who the fuck just killed something? Seriously, like there's something dead in here. What the hell's going on?" That would be nice. I haven't run into something like that in a minute.
The rotten meat.
Meat,
Because
meat
I,
breath.
yeah, meat breath. What is it? Dirty Rainbows is supposed to have like a rotten carcass smell.
Interesting.
There is the
Le-
roadkill skunk, right?
Yeah, yeah. So talking about the top three terpenes. So I'm all for showing things that matter on packaging, right?
Mhm.
But to many of us, matter is different. Like what matters is different. But I think that a lot of cultivators should probably be the ones who drive this conversation. That doesn't mean that we don't get to hop on the bus and help steer things. But I think, the people that are growing these strains should have a sense as to what's important about that particular variety that they grew, right? And
Mhm.
what do you think, grower, cultivator, is important for our consumers to know? Stuff like, did you remediate it? That needs to be on the fucking package.
Indoor or outdoor?
Indoor, outdoor, living soil or something, or
Mhm.
hydroponics. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. So I can't really respond to, is it stupid to put the top three terpenes that show up? I don't know. That
I think
conversation is sort of not, it's not, I don't think that's for me to drive. I do think there are important people in this space that have a much better idea as to what's important on a package. But I I don't mind seeing terpenes. I just don't know if it exactly tells me anything.
I see THC and CBD and then the top three terpenes as being like you buy a pack of cookies and you get the first five ingredients, which are flour, water,
Sugar,
butter,
water.
sugar, eggs, or oil. Like that gives me no idea what the flavor of the cake or the cookies are.
Sure.
I don't know if it's got chocolate in it, gluten, like, I don't, peanuts. Like, I know nothing about this product because you've just given me the most
Well,
abundant things.
but here's the problem with that. There's over 400 things in cannabis, right?
It would be nice to know something about that product, right?
The
All the things.
harvest date, how it was grown, what it was fed, what
Aroma profiles, flavor profile, like we do with wine, beer, whatever. For wine, does it have chocolate and raspberry and
notes. So
no,
the notes.
right? So
There's
it doesn't
notes on
have
a bottle.
right, and it doesn't have chocolate in it. It doesn't have raspberries in it, but it has notes of apricots and
Right.
pear and butter. I don't know, like why
Yeah.
can't we put that on there?
Well, the reason we can't put that on there is because our infrastructure is not made to do that. We don't have a Gangier level person assessing all of these as they come out of the grow or as they come out of cure and as they're headed out the door to the dispensaries. We would have to have someone making that assessment on site. We don't have the infrastructure or the money to do that at this point in this industry. And if we did, it's not being done. But that would, I think that's probably what could happen there. Someone within the company is sort of that taste and smell or that sensory expert, so to speak. They do have sensory experts on farms in other industries.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. Daniel Crawford, our COO here, has done that before. He is a terpene whisperer because he can identify a bunch of fucking terpenes just by smelling something,
Yeah.
because that's what he's done in his life working on farms and not just cannabis, not just growing cannabis. This is all kinds of farms. I think you're right as far as making sure that what we have on the packaging that explains what the product is in a much more useful sense would be really, really cool.
Mhm.
How we get to that point, I have no fucking clue. How we come to a consensus, good luck, state by state, good Christ. And it costs money to change all that at this point too,
Yeah.
right? That most of this industry is run by small brands. People don't have that $25,000 cost that they had to implement real quick for changing everything on their packaging. So we're in a weird spot where, sure, the stuff that we have going on may not be as helpful and as good as it could be, but it's hard to change that for many, many reasons, and not so much that it might just be pushback from the culture or community aspect of it. It's much more financially driven, much more probably a non-consensus driven thing as well. And then you add in laws and regs and the things that you have to have on the fucking packaging
Well, that's stupid because it doesn't, again, the things that they're requiring on the
are
packaging is
dumb.
stupid, in my humble opinion, and in your
Yeah.
humble opinion as well. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a friend who's been a cultivator for years, and when she's pheno hunting, she sends home the employees with flower to test, to assess, to describe flavor profiles, so if they want to smoke it and do the flavor profile as well, that's very helpful. And then she has information about what, to give to the consumer or to the dispensary owner or whatever on that product.
Yep.
That's a lot more useful than THC, CBD, and the top three terpenes.
Yeah. I mean, that would make sense. Again, you have a expert of some sort or several people that are very knowledgeable be
I mean,
able to try.
they do it at breweries too, right? Their employees, they still send their employees home with a case of beer every Friday, but the employees are encouraged to help, like when they are developing a new
Well,
beer.
so comparing the two industries is next to impossible. I mean, you have a master brewer who is listened to, respected, and one of, if not the top voice when it comes to that end product. We have cultivators who are being forced to cultivate, and they don't necessarily they're not able to give their knowledge and expertise along with that cultivation. So again, we're just
Yeah,
in
they
totally
can.
different spaces, and we all
Yeah.
know that alcohol has been around and legal for 100 years, and we're just not there at this point.
And a great cultivator might pheno hunt something phenomenal. But if it doesn't hit the yields and it doesn't hit the
Yeah.
THC, they're going to tell them to ditch it. And it's
Yep.
like, why would I
Yep.
get rid of this? This is like the most incredible cannabis I've ever had. But nope,
Not,
doesn't hit the numbers. It's got to go.
oh yeah, not listening to your cultivators, our growers, our farmers in this industry is probably mistake number fucking one.
They're not, yeah. I was going to say, like, there's some phenomenal, incredibly talented artists, creators, cultivators. I mean, it's art, it's science,
Oh yeah.
it's creativity, it's all of the above.
Yeah.
There are some really shit growers too who think they're the.
Absolutely.
It happens in every industry, right? Like you're never gonna meet a brewer who says their wine's complete shit. No, their beer is the
Absolutely.
best.
One thing about cannabis, though, and keep this in mind, that even some phenomenal growers grow for people who do not give a flying rat's
Yep.
ass and do not give them the tools necessary to make sure that what they are growing is going to be as high quality as possible, reaching the top level of that particular variety. And that's not their fault. It's the overall culture of, let's just call it corporate cannabis, the booth houses of our industry.
Stupid C-suites.
There you
The,
go.
the
And because,
CEO, the COO, the
yeah,
CFO.
yeah, it's all because of their fat paychecks and investors. And instead of focusing on people, you focus on bottom line. And yet, there are still people in this industry who promote that and promote them. A lot of people don't know that was the very first kick into FatNugs Magazine and why FatNugs Magazine actually exists. A lot of people don't know this story, and I won't tell it publicly this way in full. There was an industry publication that is no longer around. I think I sort of helped seal in its demise a little bit, to be honest with you, by creating Fat Nugs the way that I did. But they had put someone that did not deserve to be on their cover. Obviously, they were paid to do so. She is one of the worst people in this entire industry and run one of the worst companies in this entire industry. And me just saying that should let 99% of the people in this industry know who I'm talking about. One of the largest, one of the worst, and one of the worst CEOs. She's in the running for one of the top worst CEOs in this industry, in my opinion. And all of this is my opinion, by the way. So if anybody wants to give Anna shit for this
I
this
honestly
this
don't know who you're
portion,
talking about.
this portion, you do. Just you'd have to take a few minutes to maybe think about it. But anyway, they put her on the cover and said something like, "Yeah, her and the company are leading the ESG charge in the industry." And she was standing there looking all proud. And I mean, it was a beautiful cover. The color was lime green, and her suit was lime green, and she just looked fantastic. It pissed me off to no end. And at that moment, I ended up doing some I guess some silly, funny, joking things, parody with that cover and pushed it out via socials and it blew up and went viral. And from that moment, that was where Fat Nugs, the very moment Fat Nugs was sort of
Born.
created in my brain before it became an actual thing about a month later.
Conception to
Yes.
birth.
Yep.
Conception to birth.
Yep. It was that was the catalyst for that thought to go, this can be done a lot fucking better. There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kicking ass and taking names.
Something like that. Getting my ass kicked.
So what was in the first issue? Did you do print first or did you do online, the electronic version first?
Digital first. We did the first 9 months that we, almost the first year that we were in business or this was created was digital. I don't even remember that. I don't know if I, oh yeah, I do. It was a travel, it was a play on travel. And at that point, I was doing clip art, I was doing digital art, I was drawing things digitally and throwing them all in for a cover. Like I had no photographers, I had no real artist to help me. It was just me doing it all. And I mean
Hmm.
all of it. And it was, I think we had a cruise ship on the very first one, and it was just completely different than what it is today, obviously. But that was how it started, was just digital for I think the first 9 months. And then at the end of the very first year, we went with, I think it was volume 11, if I'm not mistaken. So the volume, I think we had maybe 10, 9 or 10 prior to that, maybe that were just digital. Those
Hmm.
still live on our website, if I'm not mistaken. I think you can
I've
still
never
find
looked.
those. I think you can still find they'll be under our print. So print magazine, even though those didn't go to print, those first few didn't go to print, they're there. The very first time we went to print, I think it was like in November, I had one order. That was it. One order from one dispensary, Southern California. It was Cake House. And I think one in Florida, they had like 3 or 4 locations, I think, total. And I sent them thousands of magazines. Thousands. I sat on thousands of magazines. I think I printed like 3,500 the first time I went to print, which is a lot for me. That's over 3,000 things. That's a lot of stuff for someone who has never published anything. And I sat on those for several months, let's just say that. And what a lot of people don't understand is I launched that very first one with no advertising help whatsoever. I gave away advertising and I ended up taking out a personal credit card and I immediately put $10,000 on that credit card the same day to pay for the print run. I had
Hmm.
and remember, I'm poor. It's not like I had money setting aside. No one was helping me. I didn't have a real job because I was in cannabis and just helping people. I just left the film industry, as a matter of fact. So that credit card, $10,000 immediately. I was like, I have no idea if this is going to work, but no one is going to help me. So I need to do this. And I guess it took me about 3 or 4 months to recoup that $10,000, and I paid back that loan, and here we are. We'll be four in 7 days, 8 days. So
Dang,
yeah,
4. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, really. I was just
seems
wondering, so
longer.
there's to you being in the being in the
Yeah,
trenches.
I feel like I've been here for at least a decade.
I was just thinking, so we watched this Netflix show and I was just trying to figure out, I can't remember what the name of it was, but basically a guy who was making porn magazines, right there. And then there's this lady who's like a feminist and she wants to write like a women's magazine, but she's like feminist. She wants to write edgy pieces about feminism and, taking the power back and fuck the patriarchy and all this. And they run into each other at a conference and he's like, that sounds great. And he ends up getting her to spin it where she has like naked men as the centerfold. And like, that's, you know, the feminist part, and she's like, and the women really want to read the magazine because hey, there's also naked dudes and ladies like naked dudes, right? And I think there's like 3 seasons, and I wish I could remember what it was called. I want to say it's called Minge, but that's not right at all. Or
Interesting.
Muff, or yeah.
No,
Uh, but
it's a
but
great idea.
but
Mashing it.
you, I was wondering if there are like any parallels to that where like because cannabis is taboo, just like porn is taboo, right?
Sure,
You
that's
should
okay.
watch it,
So
Will.
the mashup of really edgy, loud, in your face, feministic style writing in a magazine that has naked people, I think is a really cool mashup, to be totally honest with you. I think that would be something cool to read.
Yeah, women are not what most, well, not what men think, you know?
Duh.
Anyway, so
You
let's
know,
see what.
my mashup for my magazine, if you're interested in knowing, is it's a combination of the magazines, the publications I grew up with. So obviously Playboy being one of those. We have centerfolds, right?
Yep.
We do centerfolds. High Times back in the late 80s, early 90s. That was great. Thrasher magazine. I
Oh
was a little skater punk, and I
yeah.
still follow Thrasher magazine to this day and still post all kinds of skater shit. And was it last week's weekly zine had John Shoot doing a nose grab off of a ramp over a trash can. That was
You're wearing a Vans hat.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing a Vans hat. There you go. And then Mad Magazine. So those
Yep.
four magazines were probably the ones that stuck out the most, or at least stuck in my mind. Mad Magazine because like you could fold pages together and create new scenes in that magazine. A lot of people I don't think even realize that you could do that. You could put fold pages together and they would create new scenes. The Spy verse,
Hmm.
that's where Spy versus Spy came from.
Yep.
The Alfred, the goofy red-haired freckled big-eared dude that's always on the cover. And that was always something that caught my eye. So I learned real quick that to do this properly is the visual aspect has to be dope. It has to be something that will catch your eye first and make you interested because of that visual. And then you get people to read, especially these days. Like we inherently don't read long form things anymore, most of us, because we're inundated with so much media and
Hmm.
it's easy and quick to do 5, 6, 7 seconds, 15 seconds at the most and go somewhere else and learn something new or, grasp a little tiny something of something, right? So to do what we do properly and to do this in a way that is compelling and to do it in a way that's going to change hearts and minds and in a way that will garner attention, real attention that people fucking care about and they don't just toss this thing in the trash. You give people something beautiful to look at first, they won't go anywhere. We have your attention at that point. And then I get to knock you over the head with a cool story, a cool backstory of something, or whatever the case may be. I tell you what, when you opened up a Thrasher magazine back in the day as a kid and you saw a dude doing a McTwist and a double page layout, that was one of those things where you're like, holy shit, I want to be that dude. That visual part is the raw aspect of why we like things. When you see something, you're like, oh, that's fucking dope. And then you get into it, right? So that's the idea here is to really give you something to look at visually that is either stunning or beautiful and shiny. And, we kind of do, oh, look, squirrel. We're kind of trying to, get your attention and hold you
Mhm.
here with the stories afterwards. That's our approach.
Well, it's a good thing that you're not a girl because the mashup of girl magazines would be like Teen Beat, Tiger Beat, Team Steam,
17.
Cosmo,
Yeah, no doubt.
Vogue. That
No
would be
doubt. No, I mean, obviously, I a little bit edgier publications. I come from a very weird family and background and stuff. So,
You're not
and
weird. You're like, I have many, many more guy friends than I do girl friends. And that's the kind of stuff that they all read. And they all, my boyfriend has a pretty impressive skateboard collection, record collection. He still has a BMX bike that he rides almost every day.
yep,
Like,
cultural things, right? These are the cultural things
oh,
that I
yeah.
grew up with that have shaped how this magazine looks, feels, how it sounds when you read it. Yeah, definitely things from this thing was being built before, way, way, way before I realized it.
Russ Hudson. I was
I
the
love
author.
Russ.
I love Russ too. He's awesome. I was showing him all of Brett's skateboards, and he's like, "Oh my God, how old is he?" I was like, he's 49. And Russ is like, "Does he wear Jenkos?" And I was like, "Yeah, he
Yeah,
does. He wears corduroy Jenko shorts almost every day."
that's
And Russ
hilarious.
was just like, "Oh my God." He's like, "I was joking." And I was like, "And I'm not." He does indeed wear Jenkos.
That's funny.
Um,
I like Russ a lot, dude. He came. I finally got to meet Russ in person in Vegas last year as well at Light Up Las Vegas. And you may not know this, but we are the only illustration in the Big Book of Terps. And if you turn it over on the back,
mhm.
so we have an illustration, and then we have a QR code and an explanation of that illustration. And then you turn the entire book on its back cover is our logo. So that's there you go. And then if you turn it on page 420,
420. Oh, Russ.
I believe, is it 420? Yep. There's our illustration, the
Oh, look, you can.
QR code, and the explanation of the actual illustration itself.
That's so cool. Is this your illustration?
Yeah.
Nice. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I was talking to Russ. I was hanging out with Russ. Yeah, he's one of my favorite people. I really like him.
Such a smart dude. He's
He
like
is, and he's so fun to
scary.
hang out with too.
I didn't get
Like
a chance to hang out with him much at the at Light Up Las Vegas, but I at least got to say hello and get a hug.
you should come to MJ Unpacked in Atlantic City.
Yeah, I need to get an invite there.
Okay, so you were talking about like how people don't really like to consume long form content anymore because all of us have the attention spans of goldfish
Yeah,
anymore
basically.
because of social media, reels,
Yep.
TikToks, blah blah blah. Yeah, social media like even oh God, there's some people that write long-winded posts and nobody reads them. Short and sweet. I don't want to have to
Break it up so that you can consume bite-sized information. That's how our brains are wired these days.
annoys me.
A quick infusion of information. Well, think about it like this. I think it's always been in our DNA to be this way because our ability to pick up information quickly and process that is a way for us to save our lives in the wild. So I think because now that we have these things, our brains kind of revert to this way
Mm.
automatically. It's just kind of a natural thing. So I don't want to say that it's not natural for us to be this way. I think it is. It's in our DNA to get short, quick information bites and make decisions real quick and live our lives like that. But is it healthy for us all the time? Probably not.
No, because you're
Has
probably in that fight or flight. Ugh.
Exactly. We shouldn't, I don't think humans are necessarily made to be that way all the time and consuming information all the time the way that we do. And so, even though we've gotten to the point where we only have a few seconds to touch people. That's why you have to work
Mhm.
around human nature or human behavior to be able to be relevant these days, especially in media. And it's not just about telling stories, even though those stories are super important. You have to first connect with someone. And because of those, the goldfish, so to speak,
Goldfish
attention
brain.
span. There's levels of this, and you have to be aware of what those levels are and how to tap into them properly.
And then thinking about this podcast, because most of my guests have taken up like a good chunk of the 2 hour that I have allotted to allow for things like internet interruptions or,
Yeah,
bathroom breaks or smoke breaks or whatever the case may be.
yeah,
Breaking up that 1.5 hour episode into smaller chunks because we don't have time to watch. You know what? Like people can pause. I've heard some creators are now switching to long form content because they're getting more attention because people are wanting to sit down and actually watch, a lot of information at a time on something that they're really
yeah.
interested in instead of waiting for a part two and a part three and a part four.
So I think the proper way, and again, proper, maybe the way that can work with both of those ideas is that, and I've seen multiple people in the industry do this. You make clips, right? And you
Yep.
release those via social media, but you have the full episode on your YouTube or whatever it is that you're using these days.
I'm doing
So
it right because I have a highlight reel that's no more than 5 minutes, but it's usually about 3 minutes, where it's
yeah,
just got little chunks
yeah,
of the guest and me interacting, talking about the highlights of the conversation. So
yeah.
that way you can watch the 5 minute video and decide, do you want to invest time in this particular topic or do you just want to, wait for the next thing
So,
to come?
so just like we hit people over the head first with something pretty to look at, that's the idea. But I think even you can take that a step further. 3 and 5 minutes is fine. That's even a lot for people these days. I'm not kidding. The 6, 7, 8, 9 second clip of someone saying something cool or you guys doing something funny or whatever that might get someone to go, oh, is just as
Oh,
good,
that.
if not better, than a 3 to 5 minute thing. So I think you'll find your balance, obviously, with this, but there are definitely arguments for cutting things up into very, very short little bites, sound bites, so to speak. Everybody loves a fucking sound bite these days. So breaking things up
Well,
into
you
a
better
quick
say
sound.
something funny right now because
Oh God, I am like the most unfunny person in the world.
I don't know where you said something about something or other was fucking dumb. That was pretty funny.
I got cussing all day. I can do that.
Well, you know what they say about people who cuss?
They are more honest.
They have higher IQs.
Ooh, I like that. And they're much more open and honest to their friends.
I've got one more thing, I think. Let me make sure. Well, two more things. Do
All
you
right.
have a favorite issue?
That's a good question. I think from a personal perspective, I think I really love the pet and animal edition
Hmm.
just because I'm an animal person and I don't know, it's like a comforting issue for me or a comforting edition for me. Plus, I got to share my cat in it. That was really cool.
Aw.
He's in it. But it's funny. I've been asked this several times over the past 4 years. Do you have a favorite edition or something you've created that's your favorite? Every time we come up with a new edition, I'm like, wow, this is
The
phenomenal.
best.
I'm completely blown away by it. Just taking this one, the kids in cannabis, for
Mm,
instance, edition with Paula naked being pregnant on the cover. Each one of these touches a different part of life, which means it
mm,
means something in a very different way every time. And this was something that touched like, holy shit, we're actually real adults over here. Like we're talking about things that are massively important. And sometimes in other editions, we talk about things that are fun and silly,
mm.
or we're talking about death. Or so it's hard to have sort of just a favorite. And there are several reasons for that. But it's because all of these touch topics that I believe are relatively important. So they're all my favorite, I guess. But if I had to pick one that I just wanted to like hold on to and just have just because, and nobody was going to judge me or judge it or the quality of anything or whatever, it's just the pet and animal edition.
Pet and animal.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with kitty cats and puppy dogs. And I very much appreciate that you feature scientists
Oh, yeah.
writing about things that they're experts in.
Nurses, doctors, scientists, it's very, very important that we give a voice to these types of people. It's important for us to steer their voices away from so much of just data, just technical stuff, but making sure that what they're talking about resonates on a very personal level. Scientists are smart normally, hopefully. Doctors are smart, hopefully, right? But we don't necessarily want them to prove how smart they are. We want them to touch people with their knowledge in a very personal way. So even though, yes, we have doctors and nurses and scientists and extremely intelligent people that are in cannabis, they are still very much connected to our community, understand our culture, the importance of it, the importance of the plant. They believe in cannabis. So it's not just your average scientist, right? It's these are people who actually give a fuck. And it's important for me to be able to give them platform when I can.
And it's thinking about the scientists and what you were saying. A lot of us, and I can say this because I am one, a lot of us are not good at communicating with
Ah,
normal
trust me.
non-science people, like
I know.
jargon.
Just through social media, I am turned off by several scientists in our industry because you can be straightforward. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're a prick and you don't know it, that makes it even worse. Like if you know
Mhm.
you're being an asshole, just admit it. Be like, yeah, I'm being an asshole on this one. But I see scientists on social media that just talk shit. And I'm like, I would never let you within 50 yards of being a part of what we do here because that's not how we talk about our culture and our community. That's not how we actually uplift our overall industry. That doesn't work. It people don't it creates clicks. It
Mhm.
creates, conversation. Sometimes it's sort of like a headline, right? You're trying to get attention with it. What did that accomplish? Does it accomplish anything good for all of us in this space? Probably not. So the communication style or the lack of being able to communicate clearly in a way that is helpful and effective to change hearts and minds,
And not condescending.
bingo, not being a prick. That's being condescending. You're being an
Yeah.
asshole. It's important for me to platform the people that know how to speak to people that, and you don't have to watch your words. I'm not censoring people. You have to communicate effectively. And again, I keep going back to changing hearts and minds. You have to know how to touch people in a way that is helpful, that is supportive, that is uplifting. Because when you make people feel as though they are less because of the way that you are speaking, that they don't have the knowledge to understand because you can't communicate what you know better, that's your fault. And I don't want anything to do with that. We need people in this industry that are smart. We need the scientists to be able to connect with us on a deeper level than technicalities and being an asshole. Yeah, that's just not conducive to a positive and growing industry, in my view. Even if you don't like something, even if you disagree with whatever's going on, there's a way to support the things that you love and care about rather than bashing the things that you think are wrong. If you do that properly, you are bashing the things that you think are wrong by saying positive things. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
That's how I approach this industry. That doesn't mean that I'm doing it the right way, but what I do know is you are talking to me right now because you love the content that we have, the things that we create here. So, what that means is what we do works. Some of the scientists in our industry does not work at all, and it drives a lot of us away from that. And it's unfortunate because some of those people are very smart and I would like to learn from them, but I can't get past the condescending bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I started this podcast is because, I'll be typing away on LinkedIn, putting in my 2 cents, whatever, responding to somebody, maybe trying to correct some misinformation or teach somebody something. And I feel like I sound like an asshole. In that respect, I find ChatGPT incredibly helpful to tone my shit down a bit.
Can you
Because
soften this for me, please?
exactly. Like I want to be nice, but here's what
Yeah.
I want to say. And I just don't know how to sugarcoat stuff like that without inflection and tone of voice. Like you can convey when you're actually speaking with somebody,
Yeah.
I can come across as incredibly harsh, blunt, and quite frankly, a bitch. And so I want to talk to people, and most of the people that I've talked with already know me and they know that I'm a decent human being. But there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, yeah, she's like this, that, and the other. But what I have to say, I think is important. And a lot of the conversations with people in the industry, other industry experts, other scientists, I think can be really useful. And it's not the same way as it comes across in a text
Yeah,
sort of
and I
context.
think your knowledge of that is the important part. When you don't realize that when you are typing something that it's going to come across a certain way, that means your emotional intelligence hasn't really reached the level that it may need to be at for you to properly communicate with people and to help change hearts and minds and to help educate others in a way that is helpful and useful instead of being a dick. So, but you know this. That's the important part of it. Yeah, that's the battle is knowing because then you can actually change the behavior, right? Then
Yeah.
you can do what you need to do to make it better. It's important to have that level of maturity or emotional intelligence to understand that communicating with people is all we have. And if we don't do it in a way that is effective, then why the fuck are we opening our mouths to begin with? Try to communicate as best you can in a way that is helpful and supportive of people and supportive of things that you love and you are passionate about without necessarily bagging on other things. You don't have to bag on people. You don't have to bag on shit. You can just push the things that you love, and that gets your point across that you
You
don't
can
like the other
also
shit.
you can also scroll. You can flip a page. You disagree with, you can just let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
I've let it go of so many things that so many hills that I thought I would die on. I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. It's
Yeah.
fine.
If you want to be a dick, fucking be a dick. That's all good. Whatever you got to do, whatever gets you through your day, whatever makes you happy, cool. But that doesn't mean that you'll ever be a part of what we do or have a conversation with people that you may want to have a conversation with. No one owes you a fucking thing. No one owes you any of their time. So don't be surprised if you don't get the attention that you want. You don't get what you think you deserve. It's normally your fault, you know?
All right. Well, with our last remaining minutes, I was gonna ask you, you don't like the you didn't like the what's your favorite edition question, but is there something that you wish people would ask you more often or at all that you want to talk about that just nobody ever bothers to ask you?
I don't think so. I mean, everyone knows most of my life at this point, or it's at least out there, sort
Hmm.
of where I come from, why I do, what I care about. Even the fact that my dad's death drives a lot of what happens here is pretty well known. The fact that I have a large military family is pretty well known. So it's not like there's anything that I
You don't
haven't
have any
shared.
no super secrets.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, there are things that happened in my life that shape a lot of who I am and why I am progressive as fuck. There are things in my life that have happened that people don't know about, going through abuse and going through multiple broken homes and those types of things. Not necessarily stuff that I want to talk about very often, but
Mm,
getting into some of the nitty gritty, I guess, of why I am the way that I am and what that does to the work here. I don't talk about very much.
yeah.
But there are definitely things like that, like my dad's death, like the way that I grew up, like the different homes that I had to be in, being separated from my family for 20 years, not seeing my twin sisters for 20 years or my dad for 20 years. Those types of things, make me who I am. So I guess if there were things that, maybe people don't know about me, I guess that would be some of it and where the drive comes from and why I am anti-billionaire and all that kind of stuff. It definitely comes from, the way that I grew up, where I come from, being poor and all that kind of shit. Otherwise, everybody else, I think, or everything else is pretty much well known.
Well, on a lighter note, like, what's your cat's name?
Ash.
Ash. My cat's name is Jean.
Of course it is. That's and
And
of course mine is Ash.
the funny thing is I didn't even name our cat. My boyfriend did, and he likes it to be Jean. I refuse to spell it that way. I
It's
spell it
Gene.
Gene,
Of
but
course.
whatever, it's perfect.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And look, the lighter note, I'm not as probably serious as people think I am. I'm the least serious person in the world. Anytime things can be lighter, I'm all about that all day. The things that I went through and the things that kind of created this magazine and stuff, they do matter, but it's not I don't wear that shit on my face all day, every day. You know what I mean?
All right, Dustin, it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show. And I always love our conversations. We always get pretty deep into the weeds, if you
Yep.
will.
Yep.
Um,
Talk about all kinds of shit. I love it.
so I think people can find you pretty easily on LinkedIn,
Oh yeah.
fatnugs.com, I'm guessing. No.
Yep. Yep. We're on LinkedIn. My profile, we have a Fat Nugs profile on LinkedIn, fatnugs.com, obviously Instagram as
Mhm.
well. So yeah, you can find us pretty easily for sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, again, it's been awesome. Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy Fat Nugs Friday.
Thank you so much. Talk to you later.
Later.
Bye.